Coming up on Agweek TV, we head to Rochester, Minnesota for the 40th annual Agweek Farmshow. Agriculture looks for supply solutions with Black Sea export shut down. A cutting-edge vet clinic is attracting new clients and new vets to the business.
I'm Jeff Beach at a Minnesota farm that is rebuilding with the help of some friends and neighbors after a devastating fire.
And with record high fertilizer prices, farm groups push for an investigation. Welcome to Agweek TV. I'm Michelle Rook. This week we're at the 40th annual Agweek Farm Show here in Rochester, Minnesota. The show features more than 50 local, regional, and national vendors. It's a can't-miss opportunity for farmers and ag leaders to network and connect directly with a variety of ag suppliers and service providers. A new addition this year was Agweek reporters moderating educational seminars. Jeff Beach discussed carbon pipelines. Noah Fish led a panel on fighting food insecurity with local foods. And I talked about the future of livestock production. The show was held virtually in 2021. With Black Sea grain export shut down and uncertainty about the 2022 crop, the industry is frantically exploring supply chain solutions. One idea is to release conservation reserve program acres for 1 year. University of Illinois ag economist Dr. Scott Irwin says he isn't sure if USDA has the political will, but a historical war in a major ag-producing country may take radical action to remedy. He thinks the move could generate several million acres of the 22 million currently in CRP.
I was hopeful that maybe out of the 22 million acres in the CRP that there might be 5 to 8 million that could be successfully converted in the short run.
Iowa State University's Chad Hart says it's more likely USDA will fall back on other emergency measures they previously used with CRP.
With the drought out here, we can already see emergency haying and grazing is needed for that. And that would open up some land that not in CRP, but is in hay production right now that could move in to row crop.
They agree getting those acres planted is difficult with the shortage and high price of inputs like fertilizer, and yield would likely be below average, but it would still provide some relief. Fertilizer prices were at record highs before the war, prompting Ag Secretary Tom Vilsack and several state attorneys general to ask for a Justice Department investigation into price fixing. Farmers are concerned the record high fertilizer prices are a result of possible gouging, with only a handful of companies producing and controlling supplies in the U.S. NCGA leadership talked to the companies trying to avoid this action.
We don't like to see the politicians have to get involved in it. Let's work on the same page and see if we can't both work this out, before we have to have legislation, because then you have one side of the aisle that maybe doesn't like it, one side of the aisle does, so then it prolongs things down the road.
Haig says they met with nitrogen supplier CF Industries plus phosphate producer Mosaic, who they asked to drop their action on import tariffs on phosphate.
We filed an amicus brief with them. They did not like that. We asked them to take the tariffs away. And they say, no, we're not going to do that. And we say, well, that directly hurts the farmer.
He says Mosaic controls 75% of the market, which is a monopoly, and it may warrant antitrust action. The March WASDE report was released on Wednesday. USDA surprisingly lowered Black Sea corn exports, subsequently increasing U.S. exports by 75 million bushels and lowering carryout 100 million. The South American crop was lowered slightly. USDA also cut Black Sea wheat exports, but global ending stocks were still raised by 3.3 million metric tons. And USDA cut the South American soybean crop by 8.5 million metric tons, and as a result raised U.S. exports, which dropped U.S. ending stocks 40 million bushels. Highly pathogenic avian influenza continues to spread through poultry operations in our region. South Dakota reported its first case in a commercial mixed species flock in Charles Mix County in the southeastern corner of the state this week. On Monday, the Iowa Department of Ag also confirmed a second infection, but this was the first case in a commercial flock of 50,000 turkeys. It was located in Buena Vista County, which is in the northwest. In both cases, the flocks were depopulated and a 10-kilometer control zone was established around the area with nearby flocks quarantined for testing. Nebraska also reported its first case of bird flu, but in a wild goose in Lincoln. With the growing interest in carbon capture pipelines, Agweek's Jeff Beach led a panel discussion to look at some of the concerns here at the Agweek Farm Show.
Dan Wall was one of 3 people on the pipeline panel. He's a farmer in northwest Iowa where Summit Carbon Solutions wants to run a pipeline. But he's against it coming through his property, and he encourages landowners to do their homework on the many issues associated with carbon pipelines.
At this moment in time, we're sorely hit in the face with how little property rights of eminent domain that we do have in our state of Iowa. The eminent domain thing is the huge thing in our land because so many of us are pattern tiled. My personal reason was you can't come on my land unless I give you permission.
Pipeline companies will need to secure permits before any construction can begin.
Thanks, Jeff. Coming up on Agweek TV, a new cutting-edge vet clinic opens in North Dakota with hopes of attracting more vets to the region.
Small or large, Superior Grain Equipment has the storage, conditioning, and handling equipment to fit any size operation with a wide variety of options and accessories, including our patented Blockbuster auger to help break up blockages over the center sump gate, and a full line of mixed flow grain dryers with even heating, excellent efficiency, and expandable capacities. Protect your investment and market your grain. Get superior quality, protection, and reliability with Superior Grain Equipment.
The team at North Star Ag is committed to quality and committed to you. We're not just a full-service dealer, we're farmers too, so we know you need the best machinery and services that'll keep you going all season long. We have the largest equipment inventory in the upper Midwest with a well-equipped parts and service department. So whether you need machinery tomorrow or parts today, stop in and experience what North Star Ag can offer on our website at northstar-ag.com or give us a call at 701-361-4790.
Good work, good pay, and a good life. It's the Trans Systems way. Good work, good pay, and a good life. Lets me live my way. Good work, good pay, and a good life. Trans Systems way. Good work, good pay, and a good life. It lets me live my way. It's the Trans Systems way. Good work.
Spray Advantage is a full-line, full-service dealer with everything you need for fertilizer and chemical applications, like electronics from Microtrack and Raven, pumps by Banjo and John Blue, a full line of poly parts, tanks, and spray tips. We support the equipment we sell with factory-trained service technicians and a well-stocked parts department. It's our commitment to offer you quality products at competitive prices with the best financing options available. Spray Advantage, proudly serving North Dakota and Minnesota.
Day Kitch Farms of Ada, Minnesota, celebrating 63 years, is having their annual bull and female sale, March 26th, 1:30 p.m., selling Angus and Polled Hereford yearling bulls, along with 12 open elite heifer calves and 4 F1 baldy heifers. Go to www.daykitchfarms.com. Again, that's DAKITCH farms.com. All cattle sell DNA-tested carcass data and semen check.
A veterinary clinic in Northeast North Dakota is expanding. Rose Dunn joins us with more in our Ag Week cover story.
Dr. Nathan Chelland says the Golden Valley Veterinary Clinic is dedicated to giving quality care to almost any animal, and it attracts clients from all over the northeast corner of the state and into Minnesota.
It's one of my favorite things about being a veterinarian is not knowing exactly what I'm going to get to do every day.
Dr. Nathan Chelland has been practicing since 2009.
There are aspects of every clinic that I've worked at in this one.
He and his wife, Britt Jacobson, have built their new animal hospital around a commitment to giving animals quality care.
I think there are a lot of places that are disqualified by people looking for jobs because they're not keeping up with the times.
The new location is 11,000 square feet of state-of-the-art equipment.
We control the head with this, and then we've got a sweep.
Set up for large and small animals.
I really love the fact that I get to work on a cat, and then I get to work on a dog, and then I get to work on a horse, and then I get to work on a cow, and there might be something weird thrown in there, and every day is just a little different.
The new location is about 5 times bigger than their old one, allowing them to offer almost every care an animal needs. They also have a squeeze chute for large animals, allowing for much more comfort for the animal and safety for the employees.
I want to make sure that the people who work for me are safe.
The building has several other features for their safety and comfort as well.
You're encountering a lot of them in times when they're stressed or they're injured or they're worried about something, and being able to do that safely is critical.
They also have an obstetrics chute and plenty of space for indoor births.
It benefits the producer, it benefits the animal, and it benefits the veterinarians.
They're hoping all these features will attract more veterinarians, technicians, and other support staff to Park River.
Thriving businesses in small rural communities is critical for our small rural communities, and we're very committed to being here. And we're providing jobs as well as care, and I think those are important parts for a rural community.
Dr. Chellen says they are working to recruit more veterinarians to the clinic.
You can read more in the next Agweek magazine or at agweek.com. A North Dakota farmer accused of federal crop insurance fraud is set for trial next month. Kent Pfaff has a large farm near Washburn in western North Dakota. In federal court in Bismarck, Pfaff pleaded not guilty to the charges that he shifted production and gave false information to USDA's risk management agency. The government claims the fraud happened from 2017 to 2020. If convicted, Pfaff faces up to 30 years in prison and up to a $1 million fine. Here at the Agweek Farm Show, we held a panel discussion on the current and future challenges and opportunities in livestock production. Panelists noted that Minnesota consumers are generally supportive of livestock production, and pork producer Dave Mensing says that's growing as they adopt more sustainable practices.
We're tracking the amount of LP we're using on a per pig basis, the gallons of water. What are we doing with our nutrient management plan as far as so we're not over applying nitrogen?
And he sees an opportunity to turn those climate-smart ag practices into a win-win for farmers and consumers.
We want to protect their water. Our kids and grandkids drink from that same water source.
Paul Brutsky with the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency says he gets very few complaints about livestock operations, which reflects on the responsible job they're doing.
Farmers are operating in compliance, and they take the neighborhood into consideration. Those two things really can go a long way.
And he thinks communication and transparency also help the public better understand how regulated operations really are.
Majority of the feedlot rules are designed to protect surface and groundwater.
Shelley DePestel says there's room for growth in the livestock industry in Minnesota, even though expansion on her own dairy is tied up in court.
Worked through the state, got our permits, but now it's more of a local thing and activist group. So we're working on that.
She says it's frustrating since dairies have continued to lower their carbon footprint. Plus, she says the livestock industry is good for the economy.
It's really important for the guys in the other room, selling dairy equipment and machinery and those types of things that, all the dairies in our area are successful.
Friends and family turn out to help a Minnesota dairy farmer rebuild after a fire. The story's ahead on Agweek TV.
Auctionblock.com. First with online equipment auctions in 1999. First in worldwide registered users. Auctionblock.com. Online farm, construction, and transportation equipment auctions every Wednesday. Sell with the leader. Call Auction Block today, 218-483-7880, or visit us online at auctionblock.com.
Every season has an end. After spending your whole life building something, it can be hard to move on to your next stage in life. But when that time comes, you deserve to have someone you trust guide you through the process. And by trusting us to pass on your legacy, it gives someone else the chance to create their own. Every auction has a story. Let us share yours.
Small or large, Superior Grain Equipment has the storage, conditioning, and handling equipment to fit any size operation with a wide variety of options and accessories, including our patented Blockbuster auger to help break up blockages over the center sump gate, and a full line of mixed flow grain dryers with even heating, excellent efficiency, and expandable capacities. Protect your investment and market your grain Get superior quality, protection, and reliability with superior grain equipment.
Is your crop insurance working for you? Are you using your crop insurance to help market your production? There have been a lot of improvements to crop insurance to help maximize guarantees. To see what crop insurance can really do for you, call the professionals at Martinson Ag. Each of our insurance specialists have over 25 years of individual experience in the crop insurance industry, both on the company level and the producer level. Martinson Ag, they know risk management.
We're going to talk today about a revolutionary auto steer product that you guys have developed.
We back one of these things in, it'll drain a 40-acre patch just within hours.
What can you tell us about what dairy farmers do to make sure that their animals are happy?
Their care is our primary concern.
Is there still time for producers to get storage bins up?
Absolutely. We still can definitely get something up and ready for corn harvest.
The drought monitor continues to show drought in the western part of our region. So what's the outlook for the planting season? Here's John with our AgriWeather outlook.
There has been a less than subtle change in the weather. You've likely noticed a little bit of a forecast change toward the not so cold into the northern plains, upper Midwest. It's actually considerably warmer to our south. We'll talk about where the warm weather is building in and where the moisture is, because we're not seeing a great deal of precipitation in the forecast here in the northern plains, upper Midwest, southern Canada over the next 2 weeks. And we also have decidedly spring weather that has built in to some parts of the United States. Let's take a look, first of all, jet stream pattern. We still have this relatively easily defined split flow pattern, the more Arctic part of the polar jet, and then the main branch of the jet stream is still a little further south. This is very typical for this time of year, and we have a lot of cold weather in the northern plains and Great Lakes, and it's been fairly cool across much of the south. And as we go through this week, there's going to be a sudden shift of this ridge of high pressure lifting northward. And that will pull very warm air right up to the snowpack line. Okay, and that's really the truth of it. Where there's snow on the ground, you might see a day that gets up into the 40s, but most of it will stay in the 30s. Where there isn't snow on the ground, you're going to see 60s and even some temperatures up around 70 degrees in South Dakota, quite possibly into North Dakota next week as we see this ridging take shape. Now, the northern branch of the jet stream, the northern split of that, is also kind of a little bit in retreat mode, and that's going to send the really cold weather back to around Hudson Bay and in the far north. The overall pattern will remain relatively cool, except the southeast will finally get a touch of warm air for a few days later this week and into the weekend. Let's switch to the second week and note we're still getting some cold days. By the dark blue and the cold, I mean high temperatures below freezing, but actually some of the days are going to be like that and some of the days are going to be not so bad. Some of the days will be thawing. I do think these snow-covered areas of North Dakota and Minnesota in the next 2 weeks will get moving on the spring thaw. Looks like, at least for the next couple of weeks anyway, it'll be happening relatively slowly. But by the end of the month, we should be making pretty hard inroads on what's left of that snowpack. And the pattern itself will continue to be relatively cool to mild across the north, and not really that warm of a pattern anywhere in the United States. Precipitation, I do look this week for another round of a strong nor'easter system with some inland snows, maybe even some near coastal snows, rain further south, southwest not getting anything. There will be snows mostly in the mountains with some rain in the Pacific Northwest, and the pattern looks remarkably similar over the next 2 weeks. Not a lot of precipitation in the northern plains, which is a good thing as the snowpack begins to melt. It's good to have fairly dry weather. Hopefully it'll stay that way with regard to spring flooding in the snow-covered northern plains.
Growing up as a kid, Gateway was always the grain bin building and the grain handling people that were out in our area. One of the reasons we chose to go with Gateway was they're the leader in the industry and they are the #1 Brock dealer in the United States. We've really liked the Brock design and some of the designs that Gateway has come up with throughout the years. My best advice would be to just put your trust in them and let them come up with the design that's going to fit your needs.
For over 130 years, Farmers Mutual of Nebraska has been providing protection from the unexpected. Farmers and ranchers choose Farmers Mutual insurance coverage for their industry experience, prompt claim service, and unmatched financial strength. Experience an insurance plan that's customized for your operation. Visit fmne.com to contact an agent for a quote today. Farmers Mutual of Nebraska, always alongside you.
Your legacy is not only where you came from, but more importantly, it's where you're headed. With our toolbox of reproductive technologies, exceptional team of professionals, and more than 40 years of experience, we continue to create future leaders. Whether it's advancing superior genetics or empowering the next generation of livestock producers, you can trust Transova to continue your legacy.
Every season has an end. After spending your whole life building something, it can be hard to move on to your next stage in life. But when that time comes, you deserve to have someone you trust guide you through the process. And by trusting us to pass on your legacy, it gives someone else the chance to create their own. Every auction has a story. Let us share yours.
Go beyond the headlines with an Agweek membership. Get in-depth agribusiness reporting, original farm and ranch stories, and fact-based research for the most comprehensive ag news in the upper Midwest. Experienced ag journalists bring you exclusive ag news, insights, and policy updates you won't find anywhere else. Become a member today and get unlimited access to Agweek and Agweek TV.
About 6 weeks after fire destroyed his dairy barn, a central Minnesota farmer's new barn is nearly ready for cows. As Jeff Beach reports, Paul Zimmerman's friends and family swung into action to help him rebuild.
I saw the glow out the back of the house and I knew right away it must be the barn.
On a January night about 6 weeks ago, Paul Zimmerman was working in his dairy barn, which was heated with a wood-burning stove. After he'd gone to bed, he got a call from his daughter, who was about 2 miles away, asking what was on fire. The fire had spread from the stove, engulfing the barn.
So I went running out, and when I stepped outside, the main roof of the barn had already fallen in, and that was an hour after I checked it.
Zimmerman and his son got busy trying to get 85 cows out of the burning barn.
Of course, the barn was just totally filled with smoke, but we were able to get them all out, and all but one that we got out. Put those out back in another pen, and in the morning we went back and they were all in pretty bad shape. They had burn marks on them and singed hair. And
because of their injuries, Zimmerman had to send all but 10 to a packing plant. And now, with the help of neighbors and friends from his Mennonite church, his new barn is almost ready. The Zimmermans hope to have about 200 head of cattle back at the farm in just a matter of weeks.
That's been a real blessing for us, just the people that dropped everything and came to help.
Near Bruton, Minnesota, this is Jeff Beach for Agweek.
Zimmerman doesn't think he'll be able to replace the dairy equipment that burned, so he plans to switch to beef cattle. Still ahead on Agweek TV, a Minnesota woman is raising a unique breed of horses. We'll tell you about Gypsy Vanners.
When the water's high and your yields are low, 'cause your fields have no place for water to flow. Just one call takes care of it all. Call on Field Drainage Incorporated. Call on Field Drainage Incorporated. Call on Field Drainage. The experts in
Hamilton System Inc. in Drayton, North Dakota is the North American distributor of the Fantini corn and sunflower header. Both the L03 corn head and the G03 sunflower head have a simple, high-efficiency, low-maintenance PTO-driven gearbox, which eliminates slippage and power loss even in the most trying conditions. These heads are built with a solid one-piece frame and tubular steel construction that will withstand the harshest field conditions. Available in models from 4 to 18 rows, they adapt to any combine and come with a 4-year warranty on the transmission units.
Don't miss out on the equipment you'll need next season. Titan Machinery, your local Case IH dealer, has early order discounts on its full line of powerful, efficient, new Case IH equipment, including tractors, combines, and self-propelled sprayers. Get a great deal and ensure that you have the latest in productivity and technology. Supply chains are tight. Contact your Titan Machinery dealership today and find out how much you can save by ordering ahead. Titan Machinery, your local Case IH equipment experts.
At Advanced Grain Handling Systems, we're your full-service grain dryer and bin project partner. We'll handle everything from start to finish.
These guys are all in one. That was one of the big draws. They were the general. They took care of the electrical. They took care of the cement, took care of everything.
Whether your next project is big or small, let our team help with it all. Visit advancedgrainhandling.com.
For Agweek, this is Mikkel Pates at Watertown, South Dakota.
We'll look at the positive impacts that dairy can have on the community.
A Minnesota couple has put a grain bin to a new use. Spoiler alert, it's not grain.
This elaborate system of tubing with the downhill slope is how Maplewood State Park gathers sap to make syrup.
Thanks for joining us for this week's edition of Agweek TV. Remember, for all your ag news, go to agweek.com or follow us on Facebook and Twitter as well.
The Agweek Livestock Tour is brought to you by 701X, Transova, and Farmers Mutual of Nebraska.
A Northwest Minnesota woman is breeding an unusual type of horse, and Katie Dolan has big plans for her Gypsy Vanners. It's the latest stop on our Agweek Livestock Tour.
I knew I just really wanted to get in and figure out how to get one of these magical horses.
It all started when Katie Dolan saw a picture of a Gypsy Vanner horse online. She tracked one down in 2014. She loves breeding these special horses. They're draft horses like Clydesdales, but smaller, with the flashiness of Arabians and a gentle demeanor.
They're like magnificent. They're so awesome. So I love that I am kind of part of the original ground force. You know, I came in fairly early. There's some breeders that have been in it longer than me, and I learn more every year. I want to be part of preserving this breed for everybody.
Gypsy Vanners originated in England and Ireland. The name stems from the job they did there.
The Romany people, the Gypsy people, use them for pulling caravans. So that's where, when they came to America, they got called the Gypsy Vanner.
Her first horse, Presley, won the Gypsy Vanner Horse Society's All-Around Horse of the Year in 2019. And Dolan hopes he'll have enough points by this summer to go into the group's Hall of Fame. Dolan says Gypsy Vanners are great for riding. Her ultimate goal is to build a heated arena for adults and children with disabilities to come out and ride in the winter, and add carriage rides and other community events in the summer.
I think whatever you can think up to do with them, they're game. They're like, bring it on, let's do it.
Dolan named her newest filly Hope as a tribute to the plight of Ukraine. She also owns a dog boarding business. Stories you'll only see on agweek.com and Agweek magazine this week. Sugar beet companies in the region are making good progress on slicing and processing. And we profile a distilling company that uses only organic, locally sourced products to produce its various spirits. Thanks for watching this week's edition of Agweek TV from the Agweek Farm Show here in Rochester. Remember, for all your ag news, go to agweek.com and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Have yourself a great and safe week.